Now that the Super Bowl's over, can we stop pretending like everyone is a diehard Bad Bunny fan and Puerto Rico is the 51st state? The NFL's fan base is anywhere between 70 to 80% Caucasian. If you're the largest customer base of the NFL, it's not racist to want to understand what is going on during the halftime performance.
I mean, like, who is this man? Golly! You can't sing? I mean, like, what is this? Golly! This is ridiculous. And you got the American flag and all these other flags. And yeah, God bless you too. Get off the stage. Please get off the stage.
So I want to discuss some of the political fallout and left-wing coping over the Bad Bunny performance because, to put it shortly, they're very mad that we didn't like it, right? And this is essentially the discourse, and I'm sure some of you have even had this experience with people you know. So you come along and say, yeah, I didn't like the show, wasn't for me, couldn't understand what was happening, maybe I even disagreed with some of its political undertones. This is how they respond. What? What do you mean you didn't like the show? But it was so fun. And they even said that hate was less powerful than love. How can anyone disagree with that? It's like, well, I don't know. I didn't like it. I couldn't even understand what was happening. Why would they put a singer for the largest show in America who doesn't even speak English? But don't you know? He's very popular around the world. He's very well known in countries that you don't live in. It's like, okay, but I don't live in those countries. I don't speak that language, so it wasn't for me. And then they just proceed to get more and more upset, which is hilarious because first and foremost, I was reassured by these people going into the weeks ahead that this was nothing political, right? It's just that Bugs Bunny is a very large artist in the world, and that's the only reason they chose him. He's popular, right? That's all there is to it. And then secondly, well, if you don't like the show, then just don't watch it. And so what happened? Millions of Americans responded by not watching the show. The Turning Point views on their halftime show were massive. And now, ladies and gentlemen, today, we even have Kid Rock, the supposedly washed up artist that they all tried to make fun of, actually surpassing Bad Bunny on the Apple Music charts. Yes, that is a pretty big statement. And they're pissed about it after telling us it was not a big deal. Clearly, it was a big deal, right? Clearly, first and foremost, underlying the whole message and point of having Bad Bunny perform at the halftime, as I pointed out yesterday, was meant to subtly push the propaganda and the agenda of multiculturalism, quote unquote, in America, which really means destroying our national language, any semblance of national or cultural unity that we have. And yes, again, I'll say it is a little bit strange and kind of frankly a middle finger to go to a show that has an overwhelmingly English-speaking audience and just say, we're going to put up a singer here who's not that well known in our country and doesn't speak the language, but hey, embrace internationalism because you just have to, right? And secondly, I think you're once again watching a level of left-wing insecurity, right? They're noticing, they can mock it all they want publicly, but what they're noticing is, hey, there are a lot of Americans who actually didn't like this. Our dominance in the culture is clearly waning. We just don't have this ability to beat people over the head and force things on them as we used to. And now I think you're watching them get a little bit upset over that. So that said, in today's video, I want to show you some of the both anecdotal and statistical evidence that the supposed popularity of this Bugs Bunny performance actually flopped with a huge portion of the United States, as well as even address some of the ridiculous left-wing arguments that are trying to say, oh, the show was so powerful, it was so amazing, after, again, saying that it wasn't political, but clearly it was. So let's get into all of this, guys. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We greatly appreciate the support, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all the latest news and coverage. And that said, I first of all want to start today's video by showing you some of the reactions of the actual crowd in attendance at the Super Bowl. Because keep in mind, this was framed as everybody loves the Bugs Bunny performance. It was so amazing. It was dynamic. It's only this small cohort of Bible-clinging conservatives who are just being prunes and they're not enjoying it. So here we go. All right. Yesterday was a game between who? Seattle and New England, two of the most far left places in this country. And take a look at how the fans react to the supposedly so fun halftime show that, everybody loved, and shut up if you say that it wasn't really that popular. Check it out. Yeah, well, it seems pretty dead in there to me, right? Which is hilarious because what was so propagandistically shoved down everyone's throats? Everybody knows Bad Bunny. He's huge. People are going to enjoy it. And what did Bad Bunny even say? Well, if you don't understand what I'm saying, then you can just dance. And then we have the reality. There's probably 5 to 10 people dancing in that entire stadium. Everybody's clueless. They're confused. They don't know what's happening. But to which I say, what exactly did you expect, right? I mean, the excuses we heard were insane. Bad Bunny's one of the biggest singers in the world. Yes, I know. Yes, I also know he's very popular in the Spanish-speaking world. Okay, I'm familiar with him. I was before this. But guys, you're not in the Spanish-speaking world. So what did you really expect to happen? You know, it's like, okay, what did you think was going to happen? Seriously, right? And of course, as I said, that's why they're pissed. Because they were hoping that maybe this would be a huge triumphant victory to say, look, Latin culture is the majority now in America. The border invasion has been heavily successful. You know, we're going to replace whatever American culture existed before. And then we just have the reality that people just are not fans of it and kind of they're not accepting it. And through their silence, you could argue it's almost a rebellion against something they perceive to be happening. You understand? Right? And I think this video right here sums it up, where you have one person who is dancing and knows the music and is having a good time, and she's actually pissed off at the so-called gringos for saying that nobody's dancing, not one person. Please send help. Take a look. My favorite part of that video has to be the white guy standing next to her who kind of hears her say that and then tries to be nice and get into it and start dancing, and he's just like, you know, he doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't get it, but he's trying to bob along. He's trying to not, you know, seem lame or something. But in reality, everyone's clueless, right? Nobody gets it. It's too good. It's too good. And perhaps most priceless has to be this video of the face of Roger Goodell, right? That is the NFL commissioner, who is kind of looking up to the crowd, noticing how unenthused and out of touch and just not interested everybody is, and seems to express a look of regret on his face. Check it out. You know, Roger Goodell reminds me a lot of that one white guy, right? He's just like trying to get into it, trying to go along, clueless, nobody knows what's happening. But that said, okay, so you can see clearly how the stadium voted. Let's talk about how perhaps people voted in other ways, some of the other metrics here. First and foremost, just a funny statistic for you is that the Google searches for the ICE tip line surged during the Bad Bunny performance, as you can see right here. So a lot of America watched this and just said, I'm done with this. How do we deport everybody, please, right? So that's the thing. And here's the thing about left-wingers, too. You know, they think they have such moral superiority right now in the immigration issue. They can just push as hard as they want. And then in reality, you know, when people start to feel like they have something shoved down their throats, they actually just get more angry. They start to hate it more than they maybe otherwise would. And perhaps that's what you're seeing. But then secondly, right? We see all these attempts by those characters to say, look, left-wingers, we dominate the culture. You're a joke. Any attempt for conservatives to be countercultural is a joke. And then, ladies and gentlemen, here are the iTunes and Apple Music charts just this morning, as you can see right here. The music industry is clearly shook as Kid Rock overtakes Bad Bunny for the top song in the world. You can see, Till You Can't by Kid Rock, #1 song in the world. I think it's the same song by Cody Johnson. That's also #2. And then we have a Bad Bunny song sitting there as #3. This is, of course, including the fact that the entire halftime show yesterday was sponsored and promoted by Apple Music. So they try to promote Bad Bunny so freaking hard. And still, Kid Rock, the guy, according to leftists, hasn't been relevant in 20 to 30 years. And it's just kind of a big conservative joke. He performs at the RNC. It's so cringe. #1 song in the United States of America. How about that for a reality check, right? Which is, of course, when we begin to see the left-wing excuses and defense. As I said, they're just not happy that we didn't like it and that America didn't like it. For example, here was Sunny Hostin of The View this morning with whatever this is on her head. trying to passionately defend why the Bugs Bunny show is just so amazing and you're kind of morally obligated to like it so much.
Understand or speak Spanish to feel the joy and to feel the unity and the message of inclusivity that was there.
Yeah, so translation. I don't speak the language. I didn't understand what was happening, but you could still extrapolate the message of love and inclusivity, and there was just a passion in it that reached the soul and transcended linguistic barriers. Do you know what that is, actually? That's called cope, right? You're like trying to over-explain it. You're trying to find, it's one thing to say, yeah, the music sounded nice, but to say, I didn't understand the lyrics, but the message being communicated was of love. How do you actually know that, right? You know, most of the Bad Bunny songs are basically about sex, right? Like, what are you talking about? Nobody knows. And then secondly, Sonny Hostin, I'm just sorry. What is that thing on your head? What are you wearing? Is she trying to dress like a Puerto Rican or something? Is this apparently how Puerto Ricans dress? I don't know. Maybe they did in the 1800s on a sugar plantation. What's going on here? We're supposed to take her serious. She has an entire bird's nest on her head, guys. But, I guess that's also a message of inclusivity, right? Or being inclusive to the birds. They can live on our heads. But, of course, this is when the copium about how it was so amazing and understanding it's not well received, people are not buying it, turns into outright anger. And I think that was summarized by this video right here of a man last night who tried to confront this bar owner. Apparently this bar changed the channel to the TPUSA halftime show and just lashed out in anger. How dare you change the channel, right? We said you could watch whatever you want. This establishment says, okay, then we're going to watch TPUSA. And then, of course, that's when you find out, no, you're not really allowed to watch what you want. But quite fittingly, the bar owner says he doesn't care and just straight up kicks this guy out. Take a look. Well, I'd just like to say major props and shout out to this bar and the manager. For those of you who are curious, this is apparently from the Zoo Sports Club in St. Petersburg, Florida. So if you're around the Tampa Bay area, be sure, go check it out. Give them your business. Give them your love. Heck, you might even see me there one day. So, major shout out, major props there. You have to love how they stood on business, right? No, this is the show we're watching. Actually, the majority of our patronage supports this. We want to watch this. You don't like it, you can leave, you can get out. And especially if you're going to film me and call me racist, yeah, get out. And he's saying, I love the delusion, first of all, of liberals, even in red states. You understand, you're in Florida, and a bunch of people who are right-wing exist. It's the majority of the state. Actually, they're going to go and support this bar. I guarantee you that's immediately what's going to happen, especially in that state. No. We're the moral majority. Look, you're going to have your business destroyed. Everyone's going to lose. And in reality, right, everyone's just going to flock to this bar. We know this is how it always goes. And that's kind of the, I guess, self-delusion that leftists often have, right? They think that everybody supports them. They think they're so right. In reality, all the people around them basically just see them as this freak who's causing a bunch of problems and is just an idiot. Yeah, just very typical. But that said, I think, frankly, the reaction of this leftist tells you so much, right? This is how they really feel. We heard so much going up into this that Turning Point show is a joke. You want to watch it? Go ahead. We're not going to freaking care. Actually, they care a lot, right? He can't just say, all right, I'm going to watch Bad Bunny on my phone. I'm going to go leave to another bar. No, he is visibly so upset, right? It's like deeply hurtful to him. Other people don't feel the same way as me. This is so bad. I need to put you on social media and try to call you a racist or something. We need to ruin your life, ruin your business, ruin your livelihood. Yeah, because you don't support the Bugs Bunny show that I told you was totally not political and totally not some loyalty test of leftism. Yeah, I mean that's the reality. That's how they feel, and that's the real reaction when people notice, oh, wait a minute. Others didn't like the show. Yeah, turns out that's how it goes. So that said, I want to close this video by just quickly addressing some of the really stupid arguments that you heard from many left-wing characters over the show itself. As one example, this guy here tries to celebrate the fact that, if you noticed at the end there, they tried to do this whole thing that says, "Together we are America." And it sounds like, is that patriotism? But no, in reality, the whole point of We Are America was they brought the American flag and the flags of every country in the entire North and South American continents, right? So all these Latin American countries and stuff. Oh, we're all united together as one big America. So really what it's trying to say is that, you know, America doesn't have borders. The United States of America doesn't have borders. We're all one. We're one with Mexico, with Nicaragua, with Venezuela, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, that's what really was being said here. And they're trying to often make this kind of smart ass point that they think they're saying by going, oh, well, you know, technically you guys say that you're America, but America's a continent. So that means there's no difference between you and Brazil or Nicaragua. They're all one and the same, right? To which Matt Walsh, I should say, points out here in response, quote, the fact that we share a hemisphere does not make us countrymen. You might as well claim that all Asian countries are interchangeable because they're on the same continent. But you know you would never say that because it would be racist. This is the kind of nonsense you idiots only reserve for our own country. Yes, exactly. And to address the point that they're trying to make with the We Are America thing. Okay. Despite the fact that you're trying to be obtuse about this, it is universally known that the shorthand colloquial name for our country in English is often just referred to as America. Yes, the full name is the United States of America, but in the same way that you don't call it the Russian Federation, you just call it Russia. You don't call it the People's Republic of China, you just call it China. That is the shorthand colloquial expression, and when people say America, we all know what we're talking about, right? I understand in Spanish, the most common phrase is Estados Unidos, which translates to United States. Okay, fine. But in English, we're just saying America here, right? So the argument that, oh, well, you call it America, but America's a continent. Okay, you're just being obtuse. We understand what we're talking about. We also understand when you're referring to the Americas as a continent as a whole, we don't say America, we say the Americas, okay? So the point is what? We all know what we're saying. This is just a phrase we know, a phrase we use. We know what's being communicated. And all you're trying to do with this, we are the Americas together, because look, they're all called America. It's Latin America, it's United States of America, it's Canada, it's all one America. I mean, first of all, you're trying to promote open borders. We understand that. But secondly, you're just intentionally trying to be annoying, if you know what I mean by that, right? Like, we know what America means. We know what we're referring to. So these people, and honestly, it's not just about politics. Frankly, people in any situation in life who come in and just try to be super annoying with vocabulary, they're just always the worst. It's like, imagine, you know, you get pulled over by a cop, and the cop comes along and says, you know how fast you were going? And you're like, I don't know, like 80? And he's like, 80 what? 80 miles per hour, kilometers per hour, inches per second? You have to specify. Okay. Well, what country are we in? Like, we know what that means when you say you're going 80, right? It's language, it's slang. We know how this works. Same situation. You know, imagine you're at a store and the cashier's like, that'll be $12.50. And the guy's like, what, $12.50 what? $12.50, pounds, euros, yen? Well, what country are you in? What currency do you use? What do you think we're referring to? We know what we're referring to, right? And really, what you're doing, all you're trying to do with this is just be a smartass. It's like, oh, well, don't you know the Americas are also a continent? You're so ignorant. Again, it's just the name. It's just what we call our country, okay? That's all there is to it. It's like so stupid. And by the way, this is the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is a point I've actually heard many different times from like Latino activists out there. They're like, oh, you call your country America, but we're also America. You're like, again, literally, you're just trying to be annoying. You're just trying to be obtuse, okay? Yes, we understand. The full name of our country is United States of America. We just abbreviate it into something shorter, okay? You don't call Venezuela the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. You just say Venezuela. Same thing, right? Actually, I could say to Venezuela, I could say, well, you know, technically you guys were all part of Grand Colombia, so you're all one Colombia. Or, you know, let me just call you all New Spain or something like that. Stop being annoying, okay? We all know what's being said here. One of the most dumb arguments I think I've ever heard, but, you know, again, at the end of it, what is the real point? It's just to promote this idea of open borders. So all American countries are interchangeable, yeah. Which, as Matt Walsh points out, is only an acceptable thing to say to America, because try to go to Latin America and tell Nicaraguans that they're no different from let's say Cubans or Dominicans. Yeah, see what social reaction that gets over there. But of course, when it's all used to justify open borders and basically, you know, you have a gigantic migrant caravan marching, I guess then in that situation, you know, it's okay, right? Drew here points out, oh, God bless America, but then they start listing the 35 separate countries of the Americas as a subtle jab against the United States having a border. And then, of course, you see them trying to promote this as well. Well, you know, they put on the screen saying, quote, the only thing more powerful than hate is love. Therefore, how could you be against it? How could you be against this display of open borders and, you know, just abolishing America as a country? Because don't you know, they said on the screen that they love people, right? This person here tries to point out, well, imagine getting mad about this message and thinking that you're a good person. And I think this meme sums it up, right? We call ourselves the anti-bad guy squad and we label our opponents the bad guys. How can people not understand this? We can never be terrorists because we're fighting the bad guys. It's so simple to understand. Everything we do is justified because of our name. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's actually the argument these people are making. Everything that they do is justified because they say something about how they're loving people and, you know, they want to defeat hate and hate is bad. Therefore, everything we do is okay. Yeah, sums it up perfectly. So anyways, guys, there you essentially have it. Again, leftists making all the dumbest excuses in the world for why actually, you know, what you saw last night was super good. And if you didn't like it, you know, you're just a bad person or something, right? That said, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.